asked the question of how do we develop a employer brand strategy? And for us, and I would say in general, the way that we approach it is you need to understand your identity and who you are first so that you are then able to put a strategy around it. So when it comes to our agencies, we believe that we're great storytellers, we're great servicers of the business. And so we want to be great storytellers and services to our people. So we take that same approach and try to find real ways of bringing in human stories into not only what we're telling internally, but when we go talk to our recruiters, we want real stuff to show candidates. So there needs to be real stories as part of our portfolio of the things that we're putting out to the world. And so I would say finding out and determining who you are, getting mutual agreement across the board from both talent and marketing, because they both have a stake in it, and then figuring out the tactics that you want to actually put out to the world.
And Amanda, I know you have the four H's. I'm gonna see if I can remember them. Happy, helpful, humble, and hungry.
Yes.
All right. So you worked with them, so I got them down. But I'm curious if that was. It seems like that's a mainstay, right, of that employer brand strategy, and just overall, how are those determined? There's so many words out there, and you got 4 H's, which is nice.
So this actually started before I joined, and what happened was the co-founder sat down and looked at the group of about 30 people at the time and was like, what qualities does everyone here embody, and what do we want to continue to embody moving forward? And those were the 4 H's. People who are just genuinely nice to work with, right? Happy, helpful, we're really collaborative teams. We want to make sure that we're hiring people that are collaborative. Humble, humbleness is a huge factor for us here. We're doing some really cool stuff, but no one is like a single entity of CV Insights. CV Insights brands and humbleness, and then hungry people, drive and passion. So that's what you were saying of figuring out who you are. That is who CV Insights is, and so we go forth and
Yeah, I think when we work with companies that are really trying to figure out what the unified message is going to be outwardly, we go through that exercise together with them. And one of the things that we often do is we ask the companies that we're working with to bring people from different parts of the business together at the same table and go through exercises together that talk about what the unifying values are, what the qualities are that they really identify with and they're putting their best foot forward with at the company. We ask questions like, if the company is a celebrity, we talk about, what they look for when they're hiring anybody in any new position, and then we'll go through the exercise of really, putting that into things that are more tangible, like, a couple points that we can always look at and use as a barometer for whether or not somebody's a right hire. We also recently at SMAKK kind of drank our own Kool-Aid and did the same exercise and brought everybody together and came up with a list of kind of unified values that really describe not just who we are and what we're looking for and the new people that we bring to the company, but also what we're looking for when we bring in new clients to work with, because so much of what we do is that inside-outside connection of living our values as a company.
And so one of the first places people might think of when they think of employer branding is the job descriptions and the career page. What is the digital side that candidates are going to see first when they look for your brand? So if each of you can talk a little bit about that, and any, always really interesting to hear changes that you've made. I mean, especially Amanda, you work here from 60, now it's 200. Publicis is huge, obviously, but any insights also into how you've adjusted things or changed things and the reasons behind them would be great as well. Maybe we'll start this time.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that we didn't have when I started here was like a company culture page or career page. We pretty much just had job descriptions, and that wasn't bad for us. It was working. But as we're growing and we want to attract different talent, it was really important to kind of build that out. And so really we kind of consider like an internal branding, because what we live internally is what we're promoting externally. So our blog our culture page has a connection to our blog. We're doing spotlights on different teams. We're showing pictures of people around the office. It's really kind of like a day in the life. And then it also shows some personal benefits and different things about working at CV Insights. That makes it really fun, but it it really is kind of living those 4 H's, that culture page. And that's a really kind of collaborative experience working on that culture page as it pertains to those blog posts. Just for example, we did one just yesterday actually, where kind of came from a thought from our team, from kind of ourselves, the People Ops team, that hey, let's do a spotlight on our customer success team. You know, that's a role that we are actively trying to hire for right now, and it'd be interesting for people to see different backgrounds on our CS team because they are varied. So we reached out to a couple people, did a quick interview, then worked with marketing to put it all together, and an editorial to make sure that it all looked good before promoting it, kind of on our blog posts and culture pages and newsletters and things like that. So, you know, that's really definitely evolved from nothing to now a very collaborative experience. And in terms of our job descriptions, one thing that I noticed that we've done was we tried to make it a little bit more inclusive, you know, trying to reach that broader audience. So we'll include some verbiage in there about being inclusive and more open to collaboration and things like that. And we also use a really cool tool. Has anyone heard of Textio? Yes. Okay, fabulous. Everyone went through job specs through Textio. It's so interesting. It basically pulls different words and will change them to be a little bit more inclusive. Just for example, if a woman reads a job description and they don't hit 100% of all the qualifications, they will not apply. Versus a man will read that, and if they hit 65% of those qualifications, they'll apply. You know, so we're trying to make it as kind of inclusive as possible. So that's a couple things that we've changed.
And Alicia, I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about that too, because you seem like you work a lot with D&I folks and really have that lens through the things that you're creating.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, off of that, so something that we changed, I'll get to that and I'll pull it through. So our website is something that's being updated as we speak. So we had to rely very heavily on our social media channels. So, you know, so if somebody was searching us, I don't necessarily want them to see publicishealth.com and think that's really who we are, because it felt to us a very like stock imagery based site. It's been around for a while, but we were like, wait, this isn't exactly who we are. So our social channels, between our blog, you know, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything that you see is real. I just moved into the talent side, and just in the last week, and I was in the comm side previously. And you know, I've been straddling both, but something that like was mutually like agreed upon by both is showing real stuff. So my chief communications officer had made it a point to go to every single event, go to every office, and just start taking photos of everything that's happening. So that everything that you put out in the world is a real photo from a real event. So every PowerPoint that we now put together for our leadership presentations, to our employee onboarding, to a deck just to talk about cool stuff happening, it's all real photos. So I don't have to say, oh, so the drag pageant photo that you saw where you have the CEO holding up a man who's now in drag, that was a real photo. So like I can actually show you inclusivity in real time as opposed to just saying we are inclusive. I would rather show you all of the ways that we're inclusive, from a panel about elevating Black women in the workplace, to a drag pageant, to going out in the world and working work that actually is to help people with autism get jobs in corporations. I can show you that, and I would rather that be my employer brand than just being like, oh, this is who we are. So we took a concerted effort to capture content that shows the world exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything that you said, I go into dozens of new companies every year, and so often there's this huge disconnect between what I've looked up on their website and their social media and what I think I'm walking into, and then I go into this amazing, vibrant office where there's this really engaged employees and there's things happening and it's decorated for a holiday and there's a contest happening later and there's all this stuff going on, and I expect that I'm walking into a super stodgy office. But instead, it's this really vibrant place that's very human scale and allowing for people to really express themselves as individuals. And I think that that's what people kind of forget about branding. It's not what you're showing or not what you're telling, but what you're showing and how you're making people feel. And you know, one of the little things that we did on our website was we had we're a small team, we're 15 people, but we had bios for every single person on the team, and long form bios that were fun and happy, and it talked about who people were and kind of what their accolades were, but it also just had something fun and interesting about them. And one of the biggest pieces of feedback that I got when we were interviewing people for entry-level internship positions is that they felt like they would be valued at our company because they saw that the people who were at the junior levels were being showcased on the website in a way that they were really a part of the team and the voices were being heard and it's valued members of the collaborative environment. So I think that that's, all these little things, and then again, like the star photos on the team pages are just ridiculous. So, making sure that you're capturing those things. We work with so many companies that are like, these are our values, and they'll list them out and they'll say, what are you doing towards that? And they're doing amazing volunteer initiatives and all this stuff, but nobody's showing up on camera. And it's just like, you're missing this huge opportunity to really showcase what's going on here, and the fact that there's individuals who are really actively engaged, and if you become a part of this team, you're becoming a part of this really awesome culture.
So, Alicia, question for you. So, for those companies that maybe aren't the most diverse, right? Because we work with, for instance, like a lot of clients who are coming to us because they want to be more, they want to have a more diverse workforce, they want to have a more inclusive workforce. And so, what would your tips be for folks who, since you're at a large company, where, if they're not the most diverse team, for instance, we're talking a lot about pictures, right? So, if, and obviously diversity is much more than what you can see, but, if somebody if they see the team picture and it's not super diverse, or the team community is not super diverse, like, do you have tips for other things that they can do on the employer brand side to show that, like, they're working towards, being more diverse and being inclusive?
So I think it starts with knowing who you are right now and where you want to go. So we started just recently a diversity and inclusion council at our business group level. And it's to look at diversity and define what diversity means to us in general, and then also what diversity means for where we want to go. And we took a look at our employer data. So we went through and we looked at all of the numbers. We're like, let's look at gender and race and ethnic background. Let's look at that and actually see what's happening. Because then that will help inform what we really think we need to do, as opposed to hypothesizing and saying, like, let me just look around, right? And that's not really indicative, because you could look around and you could see something, but that's not really maybe the true story of what's going on, especially when you think about diversity at the team level or even in leadership levels. Like, if you looked at your entire employee population, you could be like, oh, this looks really balanced. But as we start to move through the ranks, you'd be like, there's no people of color in leadership positions, or there's no women in leadership positions. So we took a look at our data and we realized that we're really good with gender parity, at all levels. And we decided that was a win for us that we've actually worked towards. We took efforts against it and we said, all right, we know that we're good there. So let's, in 2019, think about what's next. And we're going to take the same effort that we took for the gender parity, and now we're going to move it into race and ethnic backgrounds, and based on our data. So I would say for anybody who wants to do anything with this, it's first to be informed about what's actually happening in your company at all levels, letting your leadership teams know about the data, because most business leaders are really driven by numbers and understanding what's going on, and then how it's going to move the needle. There's a lot of data around. There's a HBR article that came out that when you have women of color leadership positions, the companies are 33% more profitable than other organizations without those women in those positions. So it also takes then a data number to say, we are not here, we want to get there, and then getting that through across. So I would say do your homework, know what you're good at, tell the people that you're good at that. So internally we're saying we are good at gender parity, and we worked at that. Now we want to take that same energy and fervor and put it into something else, because we know that we can move the needle when we do it.
And Amanda, you mentioned this one particular question about the internal inclusion, so I'm going to bring that up for you. A lot of the employer branding is focused externally, right? To attract candidates, but you mentioned a lot how when the CEO, for instance, was starting to look around the room, what are we all about, and then taking that externally. But what are some positive effects that you've seen of, CBN's having such a great reputation, A lot of great employer branding stuff there, do Glassdoor reviews, which is not the end all be all, but it's something that people look at. So how have you seen that positively affect internal culture to have that good employer brand out there facing?
I think one thing that we've all touched on here is just being authentic. You just want to live your brand authentically. And so what we're promoting externally is just what we live internally. So I wouldn't say that there's been, a large difference of what we've been promoting, other to maybe raise engagement a little bit. Speaking of Glassdoor, we were on the top 10 Glassdoor reviews last year, so we're very proud of that. And so everyone is very proud of that internally. So that's been great. But one thing that we do kind of when people start is we've been touting the external brand, and they see it through the recruitment process. And then on their 3rd or 5th week of onboarding, we actually do something called a unicorn project, and we teach people how to be the unicorn stands for like unique and necessary and valuable. It has all the acronyms. But basically, it's about how to just like be a great CDI employee. How what we're touting externally doesn't just stop there. We want you to continue to have that moving forward, and so we have actually trainings around that. There's 6 modules. The first one is like teamwork makes the dream work. It's just how we raise an employee. It's all about those 4 H's as well. So
Cool. I was wondering what that unicorn was all about.
oh, that's different. We use that for our events actually.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'll say
Yeah.
unicorn.
We have so many unicorns. Unicorns exist in our company. Start out saying.
So
Those are unofficial stuff.
So speaking of onboarding and also events, I wanted to touch a little bit on the IRL employer branding, the stuff that happens in person. And Alicia, I know you weren't there, but Publicis Health was at one of our last hustle summits and they killed it. Like they had a great table set up, and they also did have one of their interns take over the Instagram account. Oh, that's your intern. Okay, great.
She did a great job.
So could you talk a little bit about employer branding, like at events, at the sort of like public facing events, whether it's something like you going to speaking or being at a recruitment event, when it comes to things like swag and the social media plans around events like that? What do you think about? What are your tips around that?
So we're really big on having other people take over the social media. So it's not just about like the lens in which the comms team or the talent team is looking through it. We want other people to be the leader of the event. So whenever I go somewhere, I'll say, why don't you do the Instagram story? Why don't you take the photos? Because your eye and what you think is important is going to be very different than maybe what I do. So I think it kind of shares the love around. Particularly, we're about to go to this conference called Out and Equal. It's in Seattle. It's an LGBTQ workplace equality summit. It brings around about 5,000 attendees, about a little over 100 companies. And they're big. Like the premier sponsors are Walt Disney, Boeing, Apple, Deloitte, Wells Fargo, like big, large companies. And now we are the only advertising and marketing communications company to sponsor the event. And most of those people are our clients. So it's ironic because I'm like, now I have a time to also show who we are to people who want to either A, invest in us, or people who are LGBTQ who think, I want a great place to work. So during that week, we are trying to fire on all cylinders to make sure that we're hitting those areas. So we're having an event like at our office detailing a program that we are really proud of, and how if a company there wants to learn how they could get that event off the ground, come to our office, learn about it, get to know us. So it's a great hybrid because we're bringing in outside people to come to it, but also our delegation of 50 people who are coming with our company, they might want to host that event in their office through their business research group chapter locally. So we're gonna educate both people, everybody, about what's going on. So I think it's like a large win. So I think when you're doing events, it's thinking through how can I get the most bang for my buck and talk to as many people that are going to be part of like my end game success.
And Katie, a big thing that people think about when they think employer branding are the social media channels, right? Or pages, right? Because there's not only the main social media channels, but there's also things like Glassdoor, or like having profiles on, other job board sites or websites, that sort of thing. What are some of your tips when a company is trying to figure out, like, on the tactics side? Okay, like, I want to tell more stories, I want to put more content out there. I've taken some photos at events, like, where do I put them? How do I start? What's sustainable, especially if it's somebody where they're not a background, creative at heart, they're a talent person. What are your suggestions?
Well, so when we're working with companies and thinking about those social media stories, we'll look at an overall calendar, and usually the kind of what's happening internally in a company is 30 to 40% of what we're putting out there if it's a consumer-facing brand. So within that chunk, then there's, okay, how much of this is about events that we're at, how much of this is about day-to-day life and the culture, and how much of this is about some specific message or initiative that we want to get out there. And so within that, there's making kind of a calendar and a cadence to how you want to get those messages out. Also what the consistency is across those. So, you talked a lot about storytelling, but kind of what's the thread in that story that you always want to hit on, whether it's that human authentic side or the fact that we're a really resourceful company or, any other kind of value that you want to infuse into it. And, I think interns are great because they have this like view of the company that's really from they're a little bit more of an outsider, so when they're looking in, they kind of see what's on the surface. So if you have to tell them a little deeper for something that tells you that, hey, we're not onboarding people maybe in the way that we should, but they're also able to kind of get these moments and things that sometimes are a little bit different than you can see from a leadership position. So that's a great way to collect content. You also want to do things where you're hiring professional photographers and videographers to really get like high quality content, not always have it feel like when you're talking about what's happening internally, it's like an iPhone pic that's a little blurry. So investing in that is important as well.
Alicia, so in terms of being at such a large company, how do you determine whose stories to tell and like how to capture those stories? Especially trying to make sure that you're showcasing the diverse voices that you have.
So we work with our talent team really closely because anytime that we're showcasing a person or a moment or an event that somebody's hosted, you're really giving them a reward and recognition opportunity that might be more valuable than people are just not motivated by the money, right? And that not everybody works for a paycheck. Some people work for recognition, challenging projects, opportunities for exposure to leadership. So when we're storytelling or coming up with a way that we want to maybe tell about an event that somebody's obviously put on our hosting, we go to our talent team and say, hey, how can we make this moment bigger for this person than just like they did the Instagram story? Like, is it part of a larger package? Do we feature them on our Medium page where they get to actually publish content and be the voice of the organization? Do we have them go to a conference and then they actually are going to come back and be the rep that does all the output back to the agency and becomes like the leader of that conference? So we use all of the moments to really accelerate and propel somebody's career in a way that's not just about compensation in a monetary sense. So I think how we pick them is by talking to our talent teams really closely. HR, is there somebody who is burning the midnight oil that we need to say, hey, let's give you something that's going to really like start to fuel you even more. So that's really how we kind of look at that storytelling element is from a talent opportunity, and not just because like it's not a like, oh, we're just handing it out,
Yeah, being strategic.
Yeah.
Amanda, when it comes, you mentioned you have some really fun like onboarding or fun and important onboarding training and that sort of thing. Do you do anything around helping people to like empowering and encouraging people who work not just during the onboarding but in general to be brand ambassadors for CB Insights, and what ways do you go about doing that?
It's actually in our unicorn training under kind of like a being engaged section. And so we break it down into a couple of different areas. They can be just an ambassador in the sense that maybe they have a different elevator pitch of what CBI does to a friend, to a colleague, to niece or nephew, to a complicated product, so everyone kind of understands it, to, being an ambassador, maybe on social media, if they want to connect to our applicant tracking system, with greenhouse and, roles, and referrals, and it all kind of ties back in together of different ways that they can kind of move forward. And then we also kind of do that in terms of internally. You want to be a CBA brand ambassador, you want to, hit those 4 H's. You want to be involved in the fun things that we have going on. We're here to kind of support them. So yeah.
Could each of you talk about a challenge that you've had in terms of your own employer branding and what you did to overcome it? Pretty broad, but I think it's nice to think about the challenges that you might have and solutions that you came up with. Start.
Yeah, I can start. We're probably the polar opposite of Publicis, where we're pretty small and we oscillate between 10 and 20 employees, depending on how big our projects are. So we have some employees that have been with us for 6 years. We're so young a company. We have other employees that started last month, and it's always a matter of how do we carry forward the culture that we've developed when we really just have kind of a few key people that have been around. So for us, going through and drinking our own Kool-Aid and really doing that internal branding process was something that for us this year was a really big move, where it wasn't just, people tell each other what we're like. It was, we have to define who we are and really make sure that we're carrying that forward. And knowing that we're probably always going to be on the smaller side, but we want to have these unifying values, and making sure that the stories that our employees are telling when they're describing the company are the same, at the junior level as they are at the senior leadership level. That was something that we spent a lot of time on and really looked at, we kind of went around the room like, how do you describe the company and can you describe the company, and actually really looked at, kind of the evolving storytelling that's happening even, within our company, to make sure that everybody is an informed brand ambassador for who we are, and can kind of define those values and live them when they're interfacing with clients, but also use it to help us attract new employees when we need to kind of spread the gospel of SMAKK. So.
And just a quick tactical note, exit interviews are a really great way to get that kind of information.
That's new this year as well.
Asking people, what 4 words would you use to describe, the company to a friend. Those things can be very, very valuable if you don't already have them.
I think because we're 200 people, so we are smaller, not quite small, but we're here in New York, right? So we're not thinking about it on a national or international level. So it's really just determining what's going to give us the best ROI and putting our efforts there. City Insights is very big on creative thought and kind of strategic thinking. So if we're going to spend effort on any of this branding, we want to make sure that we're getting some return on it and not just like doing it for the sake of doing it or just like throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what works. So just like really looking at what the return could be for any of these initiatives is big and always challenging.
So we are much larger. I mean, we are part of an 80,000 person organization. We are a division of about 5,000 people. So the scale is obviously like just very different. So a challenge that we had was connecting back to our parent company's employer brand and how people feel connected to that. Because at the end of the day, all of the decisions that are coming out of Paris about how we are organized, what our corporate goals are, I mean, that's from our parent company. So it was in 2015, our parent company did a complete, I would say, like seismic shift of how they decided they wanted to run this organization. Break down walls, no more silos, have things be a lot more integrated. And for our people who are in New York City, and imagine if you were at an agency that was like under 50 people, you might feel like just this really like on an island. And we thought for our part of the organization, like we owed it to everyone to feel better connected to our parent company. So they rolled out this thing called Power of One, and it's the new way of working. So for us, we decided we were going to go around and do a Power of One in-person onboarding about this new way of working so that everybody was primed with how to talk about this, how it affected them personally in their role, and then how it laddered up to the larger goal So that if I was a person who was talking now to a potential hire, we all were on the same page. I could tell you about what it's now like to come work here, as opposed to somebody saying, oh, we have this new way of working and I don't know what that means. I mean, that's just that would be terrible. So we were like, we better do our diligence to educate internally how they were being impacted by parent company in Paris. And it went over really well, and now it's like something that people are, they can rattle off and you can talk to, and there's more things that are now paying off that, like physically, like we're moving into an all-in-one move. Like, so there's ways now that also gets paid off, where the person now can feel like I was primed for that 18 months before other things were happening, and it's part of every single onboarding now. So if you start, you get the same presentation that the people received last year. So it's like a mandatory.
Great. Well, and I forced you to talk about challenges, so I also like to talk about accomplishments and things that you're really proud of. If each person could share some things like very technical, not necessarily so high level, but maybe something that you implemented and you talk about ROI that you saw a good result from, that could be potential action items for folks in the audience.
Well, for us, because we just went through that exercise of really being, aware of what our values are and making sure that everybody's living it. One of the things that started happening is everybody started bringing things to the table that were new things that we could do outside of their role to really kind of improve, our ability to engage in a certain way. So some of the things that we really care about as a company is working with other companies that are sustainable, that are really involved in empowerment, bringing people of color to the table, and we started finding more opportunities to kind of volunteer as a group or bring in interns. One of the things that's a real problem for us in our industry is there's not a lot of people of color in the design field, and that's something that as graphic designers, it's a big conversation right now. So one of the things that has been happening is a lot of our designers are finding ways to personally be a part of that conversation and do things that are going to be impactful, like mentoring kids who are in high school who might have an interest. We brought in somebody who is a part of the New York City Public Schools, who teaches design in the public high school, brought her in to actually be an intern with us to learn how we do design in a modern setting, so she can bring that back to her students. So we're looking at different ways that we can be impactful as a small entity, but really just be able to be a part of those conversations. And it's really been awesome to see everybody involved in that conversation, not just kind of me as the person who's thinking about what our public perception is.
So, I think of our branding kind of in 4 different categories. There's internal, which I consider kind of like our career page or blog post. There's external, which is different sites that we can go on, Glassdoor, LinkedIn. We kind of try to get all that consistent, so we don't duplicate our efforts everywhere. There's social, which is mostly just Instagram for us. And then there's partnerships, so things like this. And so, I think, it comes back to ROI, like the most effective things. It depends on kind of what you're looking for. These type of conversations that I like to have, this is an opportunity to kind of get to know, different people and talk about these conversations. Externally, Glassdoor has been very big for us because we were, in the top 10 last year, and so that has certainly brought a lot of ROI just in terms of people mention it, and so they apply on our website because of it, and hire because of it. That's like the clearest ROI you can possibly get. Things like that. So, from a tactical level, that's how the 4 things we think about it. But ROI is trying to take stages of this.
So a specific, I would say, positive program that definitely influences our internal and external brand. Our internship program, we have a really competitive internship program. About, I think, 3,000 to 4,000 applicants come in every year. We have about 75 to 80 interns each summer. And I would say, before 2 years ago, the interns would come, they'd have a project. Their project would be something that I would say is a faux project. Like, you worked on something hypothetically, which is great for them, and they learn. But we're like, what if we do something that roots back to who we are. So in our corporate vision, we are the indispensable force for business transformation through the alchemy of creativity and technology for good. And the for good is the thing that we lock on there because we want to be in the business of doing good. So we said, okay, well, how can we amplify this for good in everything? So our internship program now, they actually work on a pro bono campaign for charity. So we worked with the Skin Cancer Foundation, we worked with the National Alliance on Mental Illness this year, and now it's become where the interns are like, I want to work here, I want to talk about my internship program. The company, the charities that we've worked with have also then said, wow, we've never worked with a company that was so proactive. Normally we're soliciting help, but the fact that you came forward and said that you want to go with this like for good notion for us, they were super happy with. So I would say if you can find ways of taking your employer brand, finding positive impact in places that are probably a little unexpected. So, you know, you might not think your internship program is going to be the thing that you know is propelling something, but then we ended up taking our internship program, submitting it to Way Up, which basically evaluates internship programs, 25,000 students. The professionals vote on the best internship programs, and then we made it into this year's top 100 internship programs list. So that gives us a great, you know, whether it's about internship program or not, you know that this company is doing something good, and it actually goes back to our for good mission.
So we can take questions from the audience if anyone wants to make questions.
Well, I have a comment. First of all, Emily, thank you. This is a great conference, a great meeting, and you do a super job of this thing. And all three of you were like, all three of you were fantastic, I have to say. So I've been running a business for 30 years now, which is probably older than some of the people here. But anyway, but I've learned so much from you guys, and it's you know, it was great that we've had, you know, my company is basically 15 people also, you know, and I've been doing it for 30 years. And it's tough because, you know, I don't have an HR department. I am the HR department. But I've learned so much. Now I have to try to figure out how to actually make this work. Luckily, I have these people here that work with me, and they can help me get to that point. But, you know, you guys offer so much insight that I really, you know, basically I guess I'm dinosaur now. But now, so now we have to sort of institute it. I mean, without your, like, you know, insight, it wouldn't, I'm so glad I came to listen.
Well, and actually that, I know I asked for like accomplishments and some tactile things, but I would love to actually close with like the most tactile thing you can think of in terms of like what are things that, one or two things that people could go back and do, you know, as a result of some of the things we talked about, you know, things to consider. It's all about the action item. So I know these sort of conversations can be really overwhelming. There's so much you can do. And we purposely always for these employer dialogue series like to bring people from different backgrounds and different size companies to show the different perspectives. Because even if you're a 15-person company, you can learn from 5,000 and vice versa. But what are some like action items that you might give to somebody after, you know, the things that we talked about today?
I think one of the most helpful things that I've done at our company and at all the companies that we've worked with is really figure out what story people are telling you about your company when you're not in the room. And there's ways to do that at a small scale. If you're 20 and under, you can just get everybody at the same table and just talk about that and ask people how they're describing the company outwardly if they were talking to a potential job applicant or things like that. If you're really, really big, online surveys can help you do the same thing. It's really easy to set up a survey monkey, but just asking some key questions about, you know, what 4 words describe us, or you know, when you're describing the mission of the company, how would you say it without looking at the company website, and figuring out where the misalignments are and how people are explaining the company to somebody else when they have to be a brand ambassador. That can help you figure out where you have areas for improvement, and then from there it can give you some idea of what the roadmap might look like to really improve how people are acting as brand ambassadors as employees.
So I'll piggyback off of that. So once you've laid a very fabulous groundwork, you know, figured out who you are, and then I'd say like figure out what you want out of this. You know, figure out what exactly the goal from branding is for you. You know, for us it's very agile. It's like we want people to know who we are, and so they want to be interested in seeing insights. So, you know, they want to come work here if this resonates with them, if the voyage is authentic to them, then you know, we want them to live it here. And so, you know, again, it's we'll figure it out, but that would be the next action step that I would take. Just figure out exactly what you want and go after those outcomes.
I think this also kind of piggybacks off that too, is that once you have everything like set up, like who are the people that are also going to be owning this with you and arm them with what they need. So if you have a talent, if it's recruiters that are going to be on the ground at an event, what do they need to make this come to life and have them be successful? Anything that you can give to people to make them more successful, they're going to give you a high five. Because the more that like they feel that you help them, then they're going to be primed to do a better job speaking on behalf of your brand. So you need to know the who's who on who's going to help own the brand alongside. Just the, you know, like there's obviously the people who are making it up as you go, but there's also all those other people who might be on the ground, they might be at a conference, they might be talking to a client, they might be the person who is getting featured in an article in a certain publication. You want to make sure that they're talking the way that you want them to talk on behalf of the brand. So know who your stakeholders are.
Cool. Awesome. Can we give a round of applause? I started doing this for the first time at the last one, and I know I just asked for questions. We didn't have any questions, but would anybody like to share an action item that they have personally in the audience after what you're doing?
Yeah, so we have a big focus on diversity right now, and we have just created a committee with hiring managers that have a lot of open positions right now. And so I'm trying to figure out, you know, is there a partnership that we could look at? Like we've talked to Recruit Military and some other organizations, but I'm just sort of curious what you guys are doing to help bring diversity in terms of partnerships.
So we have a talent engagement inclusion council that sits at our parent company.
Okay.
That like I sit on like that council. So we have a lot of stuff that's a benefit of the halo effect across everyone. So first and foremost, I would have an unconscious bias training in
Yes,
the workplace.
we have
Like
that.
and
Yeah.
like, do them like often. Like
Yep.
I like you have to like level set and sort of say that this is important and have people like get their like biases, like know that they exist
Yeah.
and everybody has them.
Check that out.
And like we had at the time, we had our previous CEO, like he came, like, so the one I went to, like my CEO and my CMO were in the room. So you have to make sure that it's like serious for everybody involved. And then once like those two people went to the training, they basically became huge advocates and were like, you need to go, you need to go, you need to go. And then people, I think, started to understand that it was really important. So I think you need some level of activity or something that like you put the stamp on, like this is important for your team.
Yeah.
And then there's like little, obviously like different things that you could do. Like we are now working with SHIFT, which is this military program, this fellowship to try to get military veterans to move into careers.
Yeah.
Don't bite off more than you can chew. Like you can't like boil the ocean. Like it's not possible. So find out what like I think I said it before. Like figure out what part of diversity you want to like go after first.
Yeah.
Like you can't, like it's not possible to do everything.
Yeah.
So decide what it is and then go from there. And be honest with people. Like don't make it seem like we care about like that's not real. Right? You know what I mean? Like we do care about diversity as a whole, but we can't focus and be successful if we say we're gonna do everything all at once.
And another thing that I would add too is just thinking about really getting the internal stuff set before you start trying to do the external stuff. So a lot of, I would say the majority of the employers that FindSpark works with are probably in like the 200 and above level, and they're working with us because of the diversity of our community. And it's great that they want to, attract more diverse candidates, but if you're gonna then get those diverse candidates in the door and they're not gonna feel included, right, they're gonna leave, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the employers we work with that have the most success have already done things like unconscious bias training. They've done a lot of stringent like interview processes set up so that everything is very uniform, and a lot of those like back end things before they do the front end thing. So that's always something I recommend as well, because it takes so much time to get people in the door that you want to make sure you're keeping them once they get in as well. All right, well, thank you again to our panel, and we want to, of course, save time for you all to chat and mix and mingle, and it's a small enough group where I'd say everyone should meet everyone, so please shake hands with everyone, exchange information, come say hi to me if we haven't really chatted yet, and one more thanks to CB Insights, if we can, a little early. And also Eric, National again, and Ed for sponsoring as well, round of applause for that. We will be having continue with the monthly hosting of these. The next one will be on recruitment in October. So we basically keep rotating between recruitment, employer branding, and D&I. And of course, there's always a little smattering of everything in all topics. So thank you so much for coming, everyone.